Hello everyone, my name is CM Freeze, and today I'm going to be doing the correct quarterback tier list, or quarterback ranking. So this is a tier list, but I'm going to rank the quarterbacks within the tier list. Over the years, I have seen so many quarterback tier lists, and none of them are right. Alright, I'm here to provide the correct quarterback tier list. Now here are my criteria. I'm basically going to take the last 3 years into account. So this is how they are today. I'm ranking them based on today. And I'm going to take the last couple of seasons into account because obviously this year a lot of players got hurt. Joe Burrow got hurt. Like just looking at all these guys here. Burrow got hurt. Fields was even hurt for some time. Trevor Lawrence was banged up a little bit. Okay, there's a lot more quarterbacks that were hurt. All right, off the top of my head, I'm pretty ass at naming the quarterbacks that were hurt. A lot of quarterbacks were hurt this year. I should just probably get into the tier list. The more I explain it, just the worse I'm going to make the list. Last thing here, I tried to look through multiple tier lists, find the best one. None of them were perfect. I didn't feel like making one myself. I know I'm fucking lazy, and if I'm lazy, then how can my quarterback tier list be correct? Well, I'm lazy and I sit on my ass all day and I watch football, and I'm on my phone all day reading about football. So, here's what I believe to be the accurate tier list. The cutoff here is Herbert. I'm not doing any of these guys after Herbert. I don't even know if I can get rid of them, but Kyle Trash, Hendon Hooker, all these guys, I'm not doing. Matt Ryan didn't play. Tom Brady didn't play. Cooper Rush didn't play. Taysom Hill's a fucking wider tight end. I think Andy Dalton might have played, but I'm not fucking counting Andy Dalton. Everyone from Herbert up, though, is fair game. I'm also going to move around the list a little bit as I'm doing it. I don't have like a preset list in front of me. This is just going to be kind of based off feel. But enough of me talking. Let's get into the list. You can see my tiers here. Jared Goff is going to go into above average. Jared Goff, when he played for the Rams, he first looked a little shaky, but then definitely brought his career back up. Sean McVay led him to that breakout season where he made it to the Super Bowl, and he crapped all over himself and was a part of the losing team in the lowest scoring Super Bowl of all time, 13-3. Did nothing and let Brady get another dub. Screw you, Goff. This year, Goff did really good. I think statistically he had his best year ever. The only thing that's separating Jared Goff from going from above average to great is that Goff just sometimes he has off games. That's the best way to describe it. There are times where Jared Goff can light up the scoreboard. The Detroit Lions can get 30 to 40 points. And then there's the games where he had 6 points against the Ravens. Or even that game against Green Bay that they lost, and the game against Chicago that they lost. Both his games against Chicago this year, he didn't really do that well. So while Goff has the potential to make great plays, he just has bad games sometimes. And when I look at a great QB, consistency is key. Jameis Winston, I really want to put Jameis Winston in trash. I'll stick him in below average for now. We could change with that. Famous Jameis, obviously known for the 30 for 30 season, only quarterback in NFL history to do that. Jameis isn't terrible. He is a solid backup, and the players love him. So I don't think he's trash, but he is borderline trash. There's some games where he probably would have played better than Derek Carr this year. But his consistency is terrible. He literally 30 for 30, crab leg, Jameis, I don't know why I did that, I'm sorry. But Jameis Winston just... I should put him in trash, but I'm going to keep him in below average for now. Justin Fields. This might be one of the most controversial picks. I'm going to put Fields in average. Now, in year 3, this year, Justin Fields did have his best season. His rookie year was not so hot. Last year, he showed flashes, but not really what you wanted to see. This year, again, he took another step. But he's just average. He's only had one game in his entire career where he's thrown for over 300 passing yards. Now, a lot of that's on the Bears, too. He didn't really get a legit wide receiver this year until he got DJ Moore, and he made the most out of DJ Moore. He did really well with him, and he hasn't really had a run game, but his offensive line was good. Justin Fields was one of the most protected quarterbacks this year, and he was able to throw it to DJ Moore. He had some other guys too. Cole Kmet really had a great season this year. Despite all of that, Fields just, he's average, you know? Like, you look at his stat lines, in a lot of games, he only has like a 50% completion rating, or just about there. He needs to make better decisions. He needs to be able to read quicker. He just sometimes holds on to the ball too long and scrambles, or he just makes the wrong read, doesn't let the play develop. Fields he shows flashes, and he definitely took another step. I believe next year he has the ability to take an even greater step. I really do. Probably won't be with the Bears, though. Probably will be with a different team. But Justin Fields, I think, has potential to be better than average, but as he is right now, he's just an average QB. Joe Burrow's elite. Joe Burrow's elite. No question about it. I don't know how many quarterbacks I'm actually going to put in this elite tier. Joe Burrow's elite. I believe that this was his 4th season in the league this year, and he was hurt this year, so he didn't get to play. And his first season, he didn't really get to play either. So Joe Burrow's been hurt for 2 of his 4 seasons. And the other 2 seasons he's played in, he's taken his team to the Super Bowl, and he's taken his team to the conference championship. He probably almost should have taken his team to back-to-back Super Bowls, but the second year, that moron decided to hit Patrick Mahomes out of bounds instead of the game going into overtime. Now, the Chiefs got an extra 15 yards and were able to kick the field goal. Now, I'm not saying Burrow would have won in overtime, but he did win in overtime the year before against Patrick Mahomes. Burrow is also legit only one of 2 quarterbacks to ever beat Mahomes in the playoffs. Mahomes is 14-13 in the playoffs. 2 losses to Brady, 1 to Burrow. Burrow's the only team that has beaten Mahomes. And I get it. I really get it. Mahomes had a bad second half. And if you look at how Joe Burrow played in that game, wasn't the best. But he's able to make plays when his team needs him to. You watch Joe Burrow play. You watch the Cincinnati Bengals play. So many times, a 3rd and 10, which you think is not going to happen, Burrow makes it happen. Now I get it. He has great wide receivers. And as a Falcons fan, I heard this fucking shit so much with Matt Ryan, that Matt Ryan was only good because of his weapons. Oh, Matt Ryan had Julio Jones, Roddy White, Tony Gonzalez. And I fucking hate that argument. To have a great team, you need good wide receiver, you need good quarterback play, and good weapons. Why is it that Mahomes is, spoiler alert, he's going to be an elite? Mahomes is considered the best quarterback in the league, which I agree with, but he's had Travis Kelce, the best tight end in the NFL, and he had Tyreek Hill, one of the best wide receivers in the NFL. Yet I don't hear anybody saying anything about how Mahomes isn't as good as he is because of his weapons. He also has Andy Reid, one of the best coaches of all time too. So Mahomes has excellent coaching and excellent weapons, but his quarterback play is also excellent. So why is it that for some quarterbacks, because they have elite wide receivers, it hinders their performance, but then for others they don't? And I'll get into that further as well. But regardless, quarterbacks like Ryan and Burrow were able to make the best out of their weapons. Julio Jones, when he left Atlanta, looked like shit. That also could be because he was old and he was hurt, but Matt Ryan was able to make the most out of him. Joe Burrow is able to make the most out of his wide receivers and his weapons. In the 2 years he's been healthy, he has made it to the Super Bowl and the conference championship. That's more than you can say about a lot of quarterbacks in here. Burrow's a winner. He has the it factor. He's an elite quarterback. Derek Carr, average. I can't believe this, but I think I'd rather have Justin Fields than Derek Carr. Derek Carr will never be a Super Bowl winning quarterback. He is the definition of average. I think in his entire career, he has led the Raiders to 2 playoff games, if I'm not mistaken, and in one of them he didn't even play in. He got hurt that year. So Derek Carr has seen his team make the playoffs twice, and he is 0-1 in the playoffs, and he's already in his 30s. He's not doing it. I understand that he played on a Raiders team with a very bad defense. I get that. Other quarterbacks have too. There are quarterbacks that have played with some trash defenses that were able to elevate their offense enough to be able to make it to the postseason. I have a buddy that is a Raiders fan and talked about how Derek Carr, for some reason, whenever it's crunch time, he locks onto a target and he will not throw it. He'll only throw it to that target. What I mean by that is he mostly used Darren Waller. There are games where it's a close game and Derek Carr needs to make a drive, and for some reason he just locks on to Darren Waller and will only throw it his way. Sometimes it's Renfro, sometimes it's Devontae Adams. Now this year, I saw that shit with Michael Carr and Chris Olave. That's not terrible, obviously. Obviously throw it to your best guys, but Carr would just look at that weapon and throw it to him instantly. He wouldn't expand his field of view. He wouldn't try to look at second reads. He's like, all right, this is my guy. Fuck it. Go make a play. 9 times out of 10, it didn't work. Carr, definition of average. Drew Lock, trash. I get it. Drew Lock had one great game against the Eagles. The Eagles also lost to the Giants and the Arizona Cardinals and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers this year. And Seahawks only scored 20 points. Drew Lock has a big arm and something else that's huge, if you know what I'm saying. But besides that, that's all Drew Lock is. Accuracy looks spotty. He's had a couple of good games, but he's never going to get a legit starting chance again. He is a career backup. Dak Prescott, great. Dak Prescott might be the Joel Embiid of the NFL. What I mean by that is he fucking dominates in the regular season, absolutely destroys trash teams, can put up 50 burgers on them, and then when he plays a good team in the postseason, fucking craps his pants. Joel Embiid never made a conference championship, and his numbers steadily decline every single year he goes to the postseason. Dak Prescott's the same way. I think Prescott is 2 for 4 in the playoffs, 2 for 5 in the playoffs, maybe. He's almost, I think he might have just turned 30 this year. I think he's now in his 30s, and he has 2 playoff wins, even though he's been able to lead the Cowboys into the playoffs almost every year of his career. The last 3 years he's led the Cowboys into the playoffs, and he is 1-3 in those 3 years. Prescott has had an elite defense behind him. He's had great weapons. And he still can't get it done. In the regular season, he can. In the regular season, he looks great. Postseason, though, that's what's holding Prescott back. If he could keep his regular season stats into the postseason, he would hands down be an elite quarterback. I think Prescott had the most passing touchdowns this year, and almost the most passing yards was in the top 3. Prescott looked great in the regular season. I think that game against the Cardinals, he looked bad. There was the 49ers game, he looked bad too. So he had like 2 or 3 bad games. But looked great in all the other ones, and then just that regular season game, good God. Prescott just can't do it in the postseason, man, and that's why he's hearing great. Baker Mayfield, average. Baker had his best year of his career so far in Tampa Bay, and he finally had some weapons around him, and he showed what he can do. Now, earlier I was saying, just because a wide receiver, sometimes people say because, well, he has great weapons, they take that away from the quarterback. And like I said, you need both weapons and good quarterback play. Baker, who is someone who I believe always looked decent. He always looked good in Cleveland. After he left Cleveland, a little iffy. But in Cleveland, Baker looked good. Towards the end there, he was playing hurt, and he really diminished his career. But I think Baker's always had potential, and this year he showed what he can do when he's actually in a competent scheme, and he actually has competent coaching and players around him. I think Baker does have the ability to take even another step from where he is now. I think he has to get, I really hope the Bucs re-sign him, even though I'm a Falcons fan. I'm going to root for Baker. I hope the Bucs re-sign him and he can develop. He looked really good in some of the games. He had some games where he didn't look that good. Obviously, he threw that game-losing interception in that Detroit game. Not a good read by Baker at all. But he's still pretty young. He'll still develop more. And I have faith in Baker to get out of this average tier. Zach Wilson, trash. Absolute trash. What more do I need to say about this kid? His fucking career highlight is fucking his best friend's mom. Mom's best friend. His career highlight is fucking his mom's best friend. Dude's ass. Straight ass. It is crazy how he was the second overall pick. You see all these traits he had at BYU, all these things he was able to do in college at BYU. that he can't do now in the NFL. And I get it that NFL defenses are harder, but my God, just what a fall from grace Zach Wilson has had. Truly trash. And I get that the situation he's in is not good, but that could just be the Jets, man. Like, look at Sam Darnold. Sam Darnold was drafted high too and had great traits and just trash. The Jets just aren't able to develop quarterbacks. Maybe if Zach Wilson went somewhere else, he would have been fine. But where he was right now and how his career has gone, he is trash. Carson Wentz, below average. Carson Wentz can play good. Obviously, back when he first came out of Philadelphia, he looked great. Then he just suffered injuries and just never looked the same. When Carson Wentz first came out of college and took the Eagles to the Super Bowl that year, you would probably put him in great tier. But now he's just a shell of his former self. A shell of his former self. He still has some decent traits that you like. But man, dude, he's just not good. He's just not good anymore. I think of when he played for the Colts 2 years ago, and they had to beat the damn Jaguars to make it to the playoffs, and he shit all over himself. Has Carson Wentz actually ever started in an NFL playoff game? Now that I think about it, I don't know if he has. Maybe the year after the Eagles won the Super Bowl? I don't know if they went back that year or not. I don't know if Carson Wentz actually has any playoff experience, and that's all you really need to know about him. Obviously, he got screwed over with injuries, but I'm ranking the quarterbacks and how they are now. Like, I'm sorry he got hurt. That really sucks, but what can you do about it, you know? Trevor Lawrence. Is Trevor Lawrence better or worse? See, Justin Fields is the perfect average quarterback. Trevor Lawrence is going an average. He is not looking good. Trevor Lawrence did not look good this year. His rookie season didn't look good. His sophomore season, he didn't look good in the beginning, but then in the second half of his sophomore season, he really broke out. Second half of Trevor Lawrence's sophomore season, he really turned on the Jets, was making great reads, great throws, had a lot of touchdowns, a lot of yards, led his team to that comeback in the playoffs. Looked like shit in the first half of the playoffs, but looked great in the second half, and then this season steadily declined. What were the Jags? Were the Jaguars like 9-2 at one point, or 8-2 at one point, and had everyone was talking about the Eagles' late season collapse? The Jaguars were worse. The Jaguars had a 99% chance of making it to the playoffs. The Eagles really saved their ass because no one's talking about the Jaguars' collapse. Everyone's talking about the Eagles' collapse. The Jaguars had a worse one. They were the 1 seed at one point. I guess the Eagles were too, but at least the Eagles made the playoffs. Jaguars lost every fucking game and went out of the playoffs. Big part of that was Trevor Lawrence. Trevor Lawrence looked like shit. I watched that final game where he played, I forget what team the Jaguars played. I think it was the Titans. Yeah, they played the Titans the final week, and they couldn't beat the Titans. Trevor Lawrence looked awful in that game. Just awful. I don't trust Lawrence right now. I don't. Like, he was the first overall pick, and I think it's kind of something that's been going under the radar, but he hasn't played good. Trevor Lawrence has not played good. He showed flashes, like I said, last year. He really showed us what he could be, but I'm going to factor in that last year run and this year and put him at average. I'm going to put him right ahead of Justin Fields. But it's close, man. It is really close. David Mills, below average. I think David Mills is kind of underrated. Bad. He's bad. I'm not, don't get it twisted. He's not good. But he led a very bad Texans team last year to a couple of wins, and it's not like he had many weapons. Now, obviously, CJ Stroud was able to do a lot more, but I think that's a testament to CJ Stroud. And David Mills is by no means good. He was a backup this year. I mean, what more do you want me to say about him? Here he is. Jalen Hurts. I'm going to put him at great. Obviously, he took a step back this year. I think Jalen Hurts is a player that is overrated by Eagles fans, but underrated by everybody else. Or or how I should better put it, people that love Hurts overrate him, but people that hate Hurts overhate him. I see a lot of people overpraising Hurts and a lot of people overhating on Hurts. Hurts is a really good quarterback. He's not bad at all. I can definitely sit here and say Hurts is a top 10 quarterback in the NFL. I can definitively say that. Top 5? No. He's in that 6 to 10 range. Once the list fills out, we'll see him in that 6 to 10 range. As a passer, Hurts does look great. Like AJ Brown and Devontae Smith looked great last year. This year they looked good too. Hurts is able to put the ball in some tight spaces. Sometimes his accuracy is a little iffy too, but when Hurts needs to make a big play, he can. And obviously there's his legs as well, which is a big issue. He's physical. The tush push doesn't work without Hurts. You see other teams trying to do it. Obviously the O-line's a part of it, but Hurts, dude, look at how much he fucking benches. Dude is really physical, and I admire that about him. He's not afraid to get hit. Honestly, the only things really taking back Jalen Hurts was the step that he took back this year. Last year, I would put Jalen Hurts above Prescott. Last year, Jalen Hurts looked phenomenal. But it's kind of scary to see the decline that he had this year. There was a noticeable decline. And some people say that it was from injury. Who knows how hurt he really was this year. But he looked like he was doing everything that he was doing last year. Like, his arm strength was the same. His ability to run was the same. Just Hurts this year, his playmaking was a little bit off. Like, his decision-making wasn't as good. And his accuracy wasn't as good. He took a little bit of a step decline. And to me, that worries me. I know a lot of people say, oh, all Hurts can do is run the ball for 1 yard on the tush push. No, he can do a lot more than that. But the people that love Hurts think that he's a top 3 quarterback, and that's not the case at all. He's not a top 3 quarterback. Really good, though. Great quarterback. And this is where he'll be. Russ, damn, man, there are so many average quarterbacks in the NFL. When am I going to put someone above average? God, where do I put Russ? I think Russ is an upgrade on Fields. Slight, minuscule centimeter upgrade on Fields. Russ, I think, is a little bit more accurate, maybe. This is so hard for me to place here, because Russell Wilson this year actually didn't look that bad. Last year, Russell Wilson sucked, but this year under Sean Payton, he actually looked a little bit better. Nowhere near his former glory, that's for sure. But Russell Wilson, his accuracy improved. He had some games where he balled out this year. Obviously, his big contract is what is making the Broncos want to leave with him. But I wouldn't say contract is the player. Look at Brock Purdy. I don't really have much more I can say about Russell Wilson. Like I said, he's a shell of his former self, but he still has the ability to play. Not at a great level, but at an average level. Matthew Stafford, here we go, above average. It's funny how this trade between Goff and Stafford worked. 2 years ago, Stafford was definitely better than Goff, but this year Goff had his best season, and Stafford had a great season too. You're not getting me wrong. Stafford had a great season this year. Both him and Goff actually, ironically, I think, played at a pretty similar level. I'm just going to give Goff the slight edge here. His stats can back that up. I don't know. They're so close. Goff and Stafford are so close when you look at their abilities. Like I said, if this was even if this was Super Bowl year, Stafford's going ahead. So I'm taking that into account. But this year, Goff looked better. Goff played better than Stafford did this year. Goff even beat him in the playoff game. And obviously, there's a lot more to go to it than quarterback play. But when Goff was needed to make the drive, he was. And when Stafford was needed to make a drive, he couldn't. Simple as that. Kirk Cousins, great. I don't want to hear any shit about Kirk Cousins. I don't want to hear any shit about him. Kirk Cousins has played great in Minnesota. That's the fact. Kirk Cousins has played great in Minnesota. He's clutch. He's just got that clutch gene in him, Kirk Cousins, 2 years ago, or last year at the Minnesota Vikings, led them to the most one-possession wins. The Vikings defense is not good. He had to be in a ton of close games, and he won them. This year, Cousins played great. His defense sucked. Defense was terrible for Cousins. And offensively, Cousins does great. He's scoring on almost every drive, but then his defense is allowing points on every drive. So Cousins has to go out there and consistently score points. And yeah, sometimes he makes mistakes. Kirk Cousins is a great quarterback. And he gets overhated. I feel like he was worse in Washington, but now since going to Minnesota, he's played great. Kirk Cousins has looked good. He's taken the Vikings to the playoffs multiple times. Obviously, he has Justin Jefferson, but he's able to utilize Justin Jefferson to bring out the most of his potential. You put Justin Jefferson on another team with a quarterback below where Kirk Cousins is, he's not going to play as well. It's simple as that. Maybe Matthew Stafford and Jared Goff could, but any of the quarterbacks in the average tier, no. I think Kirk Cousins is a great quarterback in the NFL, and I look forward to him coming back from his injury, because before his injury, Kirk Cousins was dominating this year. Tua, above average. Tua is a step above average. Tua has great anticipation. Tua has great accuracy, but we all know this. His biggest weakness is his arm strength. You see some of these deep throws that he makes to Tyreek Hill, and the ball is underthrown, or he just doesn't put enough gas on it. Now, Tua can make big throws. Not get me wrong. I've seen Tua make plenty of big throws, and that's where his accuracy comes into play. Phenomenal accuracy, phenomenal anticipation. But just he won't make the Dolphins. He won't take the Dolphins to the Super Bowl. He just doesn't have that extra step. You look at all these great quarterbacks that have, like, look at Joe Burrow here in Elite. He's a winner. When if the team needs him to make a great play, he can. Hurts, all great quarterbacks, Hurts and Cousins, they can. Prescott can in the regular season. Tua can't. Or at least he's so far proven that he can't. He looked bad his first couple of years. Last year, though, he looked really good, but then got hurt. This year, Tua took that next step to move him out of average to above average. But until Tua shows that he can win in big games, which he hasn't, I'm pretty sure this year the Dolphins only had one win against a team with a winning record. He hasn't shown that he can win in big games against elite defenses when his team needs him to step up. And until he steps up, I'm not trusting Tua. Lamar, elite. I'm going to put Lamar below Burrow. I think Burrow's just a bit better than Lamar, but Lamar's great. Best rushing quarterback in the NFL, and I'm not saying he's a running back by any means, but that's the fact. He's the best quarterback with his legs. He has elite speed, and he's very tough for someone of his stature, because he's kind of a skinnier guy. Tall, skinny, but Lamar is really fast, he is strong, and he's a much better passer than people give him credit for. Lamar can make some phenomenal throws. The only thing holding him back is, again, his postseason play. Look at his game he just had against Kansas City. Yes, he looked dominant against the Texans. His first only dominant playoff game. 2-4 in the playoffs. 2-4 in the playoffs. Joe Burrow has 2 playoff losses. I think Joe Burrow is 4-2 in the playoffs, if I'm not mistaken. Might even be 5-2 in the playoffs. I think Burrow's 5-2 in the playoffs. Lamar Jackson's 2-4. And you can say all you want. The Baltimore, the Bengals have an elite defense. The Ravens held the Chiefs to 17 points. If you were to tell me before this game, hey, the Baltimore Ravens defense are going to hold the Chiefs to 17 points, you would think, oh my God, surely that means the Ravens are going to win. No, they scored 10 points. 10. Lamar Jackson looked like shit. In his other postseason losses, he's looked bad too. This game against the Texans was his first true, really good postseason game. And I'm hoping that he can continue to do that, and I'm hoping that it was just maybe because it was his first conference championship game. He didn't know what to expect and had the experience. Now that he has the experience, I'm hoping he can take the Ravens to a Super Bowl, because they have a Super Bowl caliber team. That defense played out of their mind. Offensively, Lamar just needs to play a little bit better. And I guess Zay Flowers needs to not fumble on the 1-yard line. Daniel Jones, average. I don't think he's below average. Daniel Jones is definitely at the bottom of average, when he first started out as the Giants quarterback with all those turnovers, he was below average. But since then, he's cleaned the turnovers up. He's not that bad. Not good, but he's not that bad. Jimmy G, below average. Just looked bad with the Raiders this year. Like, what else can you expect? And the year before that, when he was with San Francisco, he looked bad and then got hurt, and then Brock Purdy took his job. He's just not who he was anymore. Jimmy G used to be better. Maybe you could have made a case for him to be above average here at the end, but he's just old. He just needs to stick to sleeping with porn stars and, well, any girl he wants, really. If this was a handsomeness scale, he would be up here in elite. Fortunately, it's quarterback play. Gardner Minshew is... Ooh, is Gardner Minshew better or worse than Trevor Lawrence? I'll put him below Lawrence. I'm putting him above Lawrence. Fuck you. If anyone wants to defend Lawrence, please, by all means, defend Trevor Lawrence. I actually don't know. Trevor Lawrence and Gardner Minshew are so interchangeable for me right now. Minshew did more this year with less talent. Minshew, the Colts have Michael Pittman Jr. and Jonathan Taylor. Jonathan Taylor also didn't play to start the year, but Gardner Minshew has less weapons than Trevor Lawrence does, and Gardner Minshew had a pretty similar season to him. Minshew is... I think he's good enough to be a starting quarterback, but he's an average starting quarterback. Do I ever think he's going to win a team a championship? No. Maybe if you put him on that San Francisco team, he could. It's hard to tell, but he's not bad by any means. But he's definitely average. This is where he is. Jordan Love, above average. It's either he's either above average or top of average. Because this is where I'd put him. I would put him a step above Baker, but below Tua. So he's either above average or average. For now, I'll put him at above average. He played really good for his first year. This year, Jordan Love played really good. At the beginning of the year, it looked a little shaky, but he developed, and that's what you want to see out of a quarterback who is his first year starting. He developed throughout the years. The Packers, who's their number one wide receiver? I know they got Romeo Dobbs. You know, they got some other guys, but for the most part, they didn't really have a true number one wide receiver. He had a bunch of young guys that he helped develop as well. He clicked with those young guys. Jordan Love, for the staff that he had and the shit defenses he had to put up with, I think he played really well. And I think, honestly, Jordan Love he played really well against the 49ers, except that interception. He doesn't throw that terrible pick. We might be singing a much different tune about Jordan Love and the Packers right now. Aaron Rodgers. Okay, this is actually a really hard ranking. Like, where am I supposed to put Rodgers? He played 4 snaps this year. So am I supposed to judge him based off last year? I honestly don't know what to do. I have no clue what to do, to be honest. So he'll get to go in his own tier. Congrats. Mahomes, best quarterback in the NFL. It's not an argument. There is nobody on this planet that has any proof or opinion that would persuade me that Mahomes isn't the best quarterback in the NFL. In his 6 years starting, he's taken his team to the Super Bowl 4 times. Made the AFC Conference Championship game all 6 years. Those are numbers only seen by Brady and Joe Montana, who are considered probably the 2 best quarterbacks in the NFL ever, all time. Mahomes, if Mahomes wins this Super Bowl against the 49ers, I think it's time to finally start and ask ourselves, is Mahomes better than Brady? Like, I think people can start having that conversation. I think Mahomes will need to win another ring or 2, get to 4 or 5, but I think you could start actually having that conversation if Mahomes wins the Super Bowl this year. I'm sure there are people out there that think that you can already have that conversation about Mahomes. Mahomes is elite. Tyler Huntley, below average. I'm not even going to say much about him. He's okay. but he's not that good. Jacoby Brissett, I'm actually not even going to rate him. I didn't even realize he was here. CJ Stroud, above average. One of the best rookie quarterback performances we have ever seen. CJ Stroud looked great this year, showed some of the best accuracy in the league. Deep ball was great, power was great, decision making was great. He played with a moxie that a young rookie quarterback has, and he barely turned the ball over. Think about how many rookie quarterbacks you see come in and have a ton of picks. I think Stroud maybe only had 4 all year. I know he had 2 against the Cardinals. Maybe he had 5, but only 4 or 5 picks, and to be starting all year is insane, especially for a rookie quarterback. CJ Stroud is just, and this was his first year, man. He really next year could move into that great tier if they build the team up a little bit more. Kenny Pickett, below average. Kenny Pickett plays like ass for 3 quarters and then for some reason plays really good in the 4th, and I can't describe it. You watch any Steelers game with Kenny Pickett, and he looks like trash for the first 3 quarters. The score is 10-10 or 10-7, and then in the 4th quarter, he'll put away 3 great drives to score 14 or 17 points and win the game. It's unbelievable how many times that's actually happened with Pickett. Or a lot of the Steelers' touchdowns, or defensively, or their 75-yard touchdowns. He's not able to put together a drive unless it's in the 4th, and that's why he's below average. Will Levis, it's kind of too hard. It's kind of too late to tell on Will Levis. I honestly might have him over Pickett. I'll put Will Levis here. Against the Atlanta Falcons in his debut, he fucking tore them a new one. But then after that, he didn't look as good. Falcons defense just sucks, I guess. Will Levis definitely showed some great flashes as a rookie. Like I said, his debut game against the Falcons where he just fucking dominated us. He has potential. It's too hard to tell. That's why he's in below average. It's mostly just because of his little database that we have. And with what little knowledge we have in playing time, I'd rather take some guys above him. Like I would even take Daniel Jones above him as right now in this moment in time. I think Will Levis has definitely the potential to develop above a bunch of these guys. But right now, this current moment in time, here's where I'm putting him. Desmond Ridder. If I could, I'd put him in mega trash. Good God Almighty, I hate Desmond Ridder. But I don't think this is where he is. Man, this is actually a debate. Who is better, Kenny Pickett or Desmond Ridder? Well, Kenny Pickett actually has had a winning season. So here's where I'm going to put Ridder. Ridder's just, there's so many things wrong with Ridder. So many things wrong with Ridder. He always throws it to his first read. How many times, Falcons fans, how many times did we watch Ridder this year? His number 1 wide receiver, the guy who was throwing the ball to, he would fucking stare him down the entire right and throw it right at him. Led to multiple easy interceptions or passes that should have been intercepted. He never looked off the defender. He never surveyed the field. He's like, I'm going to throw it to Pitts this route. Pitts would run his route. He would stare him down the entire time. And opposing defenses would make a play on it. Ridder also stayed in the pocket too long. Ridder's footwork was trash. He fumbled the ball way too much. He looked great. Look at that game against the Saints. Desmond Ridder in the first half of the Saints, I think, had a perfect passer rating, multiple touchdowns, and looked phenomenal. Second half against the Saints, very first drive, he comes out and he throws an interception. He showed some flashes, I guess. There were times where he looked fine, but all these issues that he has are just issues that a year 2 quarterback shouldn't have. They're issues that other quarterbacks don't really necessarily have, but he does. And he's young, but good God, I hate Ridder. Sam Howell, I think he's better than Ridder, personally. Sam Howell looked really good to start the season, but then just crap the bed and looked terrible the second half of the season. You could say that's because Washington's coaching sucked. He had good weapons. His offensive line was decent, but not much more you can really say about Howell. He looked pretty bad at the second half of the season there. Bryce Young or Kenny Pickett? I can't believe Kenny Pickett's actually going above all these guys. Bryce Young did not look good. Now, a lot of that is because Carolina sucks. Terrible play calling, no run game, iffy offensive line, no real weapons. Bryce Young actually had a lot of throws that were drops. He actually played a lot better than people think he played this year. His team around him just sucked. Like, really sucked. And coaching sucked too. But just he's the first overall pick, man, and he looks so disappointing this year. He was the first overall pick, and they ended up again with the first pick, but it's to the Bears. Anthony Richardson, average. We only got to see him for a couple of games, but he looked really good in those couple of games that we saw him. He could be better than some of these guys, but again, we've only seen him for 5 games. Like Daniel Jones, he's proven he can lead his team to a playoffs. Derek Carr, I guess he kind of has too. Richardson, we only got to see him for a couple of games, but I think that says a lot that in a couple of games we're able to see him and put him in this average tier. Brock Purdy. This is where a lot of people might click off the video, to be honest. That's where he's staying. Purdy, in his 2 years, has taken his team to the Super Bowl and took him to the conference championship game. A lot of people will look at his weapons and his defense, which I completely get. Lamar Jackson has great weapons and a great defense, and he couldn't get it done. He couldn't take his team to a Super Bowl. You can say the same thing about Cousins. He has great weapons, couldn't take his team to a Super Bowl. You can say that about Prescott. You can say that about Goff. Look at all these quarterbacks that you can say that about. They have great offenses, great defenses. They couldn't take their team to a Super Bowl. Purdy did. Purdy isn't a hindrance to the 49ers. And I think that's what makes him really good. Sometimes he makes bad decisions, and sometimes he's still young, and you see that. But the accomplishments that he's been able to make at his age, and some of the throws that he has made have looked really good. I get it. He has a great team around him, so who knows how he could be. But he had great coaches who developed him really well, and he fits really well into that scheme. And as a quarterback, he's playing well. Yes, he has good talent around him, but he's playing really well with that talent. And outside of, I think, the Ravens game this year, he's looked good in all of those games. He looked a little suspect in the Packers game and in the Lions game. Both games he was down, but he was able to come back and win those games. Both games he was down at halftime and was able to make game-leading winning drives in the second half. He's clutch when it matters. Josh Allen, elite. I feel comfortable putting him here at 4. Spoiler alert, I'm going to move him to 5. But when I think of the top 5 quarterbacks in the league, I think Allen is number 5. I think Allen is the 5th best quarterback in the league. Josh Allen, while Lamar Jackson, like I said, is the best runner in the league, Allen's the 2nd best rusher. And he's definitely the best physically rushing quarterback in the league. Or maybe Hurts. Him and Hurts are on par. Josh Allen looks great. Like Josh Allen, he is the definition of a quarterback that can win you games. If you have Josh Allen on your team, it doesn't matter who you have around you, you feel confident that you can win games because of Allen. Excellent arm. His accuracy has improved tremendously. Like I said, excellent legs. His decision-making has also improved drastically as well. The big issue with Allen, just like Lamar, just like Prescott, is the playoffs. More specifically, his kryptonite, the Chiefs. Josh Allen now in the last 4 years has gone lost to the Chiefs, lost to the Chiefs, lost to the Bengals, lost to the Chiefs. Josh Allen can beat the great quarterbacks, the above average quarterbacks, all these quarterbacks below Josh Allen, he can beat. Just he doesn't have that edge on Burrow, at least on Burrow and on Mahomes, at least in the regular season. or postseason. Regular season, Josh Allen, I think, is actually 3-1 against Mahomes. Just you can't beat him in the postseason. Burrow does have Allen. Josh Allen's great, and he doesn't have the best of weapons. Like, yes, he has Stephon Diggs, but you're going to sit here and tell me that Gabe Davis is a really good weapon? No. Josh Allen is able to make great throws. Plus, Stephon Diggs doesn't show up in the playoffs anyways, right? Look at his stat line against the Chiefs in that game, like 34 yards. Allen's able to make great throws to any wide receivers, and you will always feel comfortable having Josh Allen on your team. The fuck? Is this Russell Wilson again? Gone. Trey Lance, I'm not going to rate him either. Like, what, he started in 3 games? Like, what do you want me to say about Trey Lance right now? Like, who knows what he is? How am I supposed to rank him in these guys? He's got 3 games of experience. All right, we got 6 quarterbacks left. Geno Smith, I think Geno Smith is above average. He's looked really good this year. He looked really good last year, too. Geno Smith, this is his peak. I don't think he's getting any better for Geno Smith, but he has good accuracy, good anticipation, pocket awareness. You would like him to be a little bit more athletic. You'd like him to be able to have a little bit bigger of an arm, but Geno Smith, he really took a step up from what he was, and he deserves his spot here at the end of above average. Mac Jones, fucking trash, man. Fucking trash. I watched the Patriots versus the Colts game this year in Germany. I bet money on that game. I won, thankfully. Mac Jones had the worst interception I think I've ever seen in my life. I'm not kidding when I say that. Top 5 for sure. Maybe not the worst, but top 5 worst interception I've ever seen in my life. It was playing the end zone, where he had a wide open tight end behind the slot corner. Or maybe it wasn't the slot corner, but he had a wide open tight end. All he had to do was just kind of throw the ball up there right over the guy's head. Easy touchdown. I think they're on the 10-yard line. So for him, it was probably about a 15-yard pass. He underthrew his wide receiver by about 7 yards. And he poofed it right up to that corner, or whoever was in front of him. He's not good, man. Like, his rookie year, he was probably average, but he's just sucked so much. You got benched for fucking Bailey Zappi, dude. That's all you need to know. Ryan Tannehill, bad. He's old. Nothing like he used to be. Like, what else do you want to say about Tannehill? Heineke, is Heineke better than Ritter? I don't think so. They're both pretty. They're like the same player. They're the same player. They're both ass. We have 2 ass players at quarterback. That's a video for a different day. Both these guys are ass. Kyler Murray. I like placing Kyler here. I'm not a big Kyler guy, honestly. That's another video I could make, how much I hate Kyler Murray. But I'll give him credit, and he's an above-average quarterback. Kyler Murray's not bad by any means. He's great pocket awareness. His ability to scramble is phenomenal. Decent arm. Would like to see better accuracy and would like to see better decision-making. But Kyler Murray has won some clutch games. He has come up when his team needs it the most. That's tough to say, but I think Kyler Murray and Brock Purdy are right next to each other. I'm going to give Kyler Murray the edge just a little bit. We've seen him more. We've seen what he can do. He came back from injury this year and looked great. Props to Kyler Murray. Last player is Herbert. I'm putting him exactly where he deserves to be, at 4. This also might be one of my most controversial takes. Justin Herbert and the Los Angeles Chargers, since he's been in the league, and 4 years ago, was it 4 years ago? Or was it 3 years ago? 4 years ago. 4 years, in the last 4 years, the Chargers have scored the most points in the NFL out of any single team. Their defense has allowed the most points out of any single team. I promise you, you give Justin Herbert a defense. You put Justin Herbert on that Ravens team, They beat the Chiefs this year. I'm being dead fucking serious. You put Justin Herbert on that Ravens team this year. They beat the Chiefs in that game. Justin Herbert is able to make some crazy fucking throws that every quarterback in maybe Prescott and maybe Hurts can make. Every quarterback behind Hurts cannot make throws that Herbert can make. He has phenomenal pinpoint accuracy. His wide receivers had some of the most drops in the league this year. Quentin Johnson, ass. Keenan Williams took a step back. Keenan Allen took a step back. Mike Williams can't stay on the fucking field. Herbert has no weapons, and he's still doing this shit. I have no clue why he chose to stay in LA. Get Justin Herbert out of LA. Look at how trash LA looked without Herbert. Herbert's the only reason that LA gets any wins in the first place. I on God think if Justin Herbert was not on this Los Angeles Chargers team this year, they might have gone 1-16. I'm being dead fucking serious when I say that. Justin Herbert is an elite game changer. I think he has all the records for a rookie quarterback. That postseason collapse was abysmal. But let's look at the stats. His second year, he should have made the playoffs. His head coach is a moron and coached them out of a playoff spot against the Raiders. Second year, 27-3. Yes, Herbert has a lot to do with that, but at the same time, that's not just quarterback. You got to look at coaching, defense. A lot of factors go into that. This year, he got hurt and his team sucked. His defense sucked, dropping 30 points a game. How many games has Herbert scored 30 or more points and is constantly scoring touchdown after touchdown after touchdown, and his defense can't do shit? Many fucking times. Many fucking times his defense cannot do anything for him. And he had a fucking idiot for a head coach in Brandon Staley. Now he's got Harbaugh, and I really think Justin Herbert can turn it around. I think Herbert's better than Josh Allen. Crazy hot take. I think Justin Herbert is better than Josh Allen. I'm sticking with that. You put Justin Herbert on that Buffalo Bills team, I think they're pretty similar. Maybe Josh Allen's a little bit better. But I'm going to go with Herbert. I think you can flop these two guys around. I'm sticking with Herbert, though. He hasn't had a team. He's hard to rate because his defense has been shit. Even Buffalo's defense doesn't allow that many points. But anyways, guys, this is the correct quarterback tier list ranking. So as we can see, I'm saying Joe Burrow is the second best quarterback in the NFL. I think Lamar's third, Herbert's fourth, Allen's fifth. Prescott is sixth, Hurts is seventh, Cousins is eighth, and then Goff is ninth, Stafford's 10th. There's some picks here that you could switch around. Like I think you could switch around Purdy and Kyler. I think you could switch around Goff and Stafford. I think you could switch around Herbert and Allen. But this is the correct quarterback tier list, guys. Thank you so much for watching. Leave comments down below on how much of an idiot I am. I've seen on my last couple of videos, all of them have been comments on how trash I am, and believe me, I love it. I love it. Please, like OBJ said, I love getting shit on. So anyways, guys, thank you so much for watching. You don't have to like if you think the video is shit. I just like comments to get feedback on what I can do better. Thank you guys for watching. Peace.